Welcome back. So, how was lunch? Good. This is a very brave move by Ron, who will come on the stage right now, because usually the slot after lunch is called the graveyard shift. Because the fight with hunger is over and now starts the fight with sleep. But I know that Ron is up to the job. It's not his first rodeo here. So give him a round of hands, please.
Thank you very much, Casper. And I'll do my best to get you activated after lunch. So thanks for having me, to the whole organization team. Maybe first things first, I'm not Daniel Knott. So if you still read that in the actual schedule, then that's wrong. This time I won't talk about mobile testing, but I will need to have you have your mobiles ready. So take your mobile phone out, you'll need it in a minute. The talk today is called Testing Without Testers. What would that be? Who in here is actually a tester? Okay, quite a few. So I'm sorry, I have bad news for you. That's it. No, just joking, of course. But we will go into what does testing mean and what is beyond testing. And we'll deep dive into that. So, without further ado, let's move into requirements. So, what is the usual requirement to a tester? Well, let's take this tester here, let's call him John Doe. The typical requirement to the tester is you need to be 25 years old or young, you have to have 20 years of relevant work experience, and you should have worked 30 years in the relevant industry. On top of that, you should be coding proficient, so an expert in Java, in C++, C# actually, C++ would be a bonus as well, Kotlin, Python, and React Script. What? You never heard of React Script? That's because it doesn't exist yet. I just made it up. So it doesn't matter, it's still a requirement. On top of that, you should be active GitHub contributor to more than 5 different repositories. And you have expert working knowledge in 12 different testing frameworks. On top of that, you should have tested everything. It always puts a smile on my face when I get asked this question, has everything been tested? Because the rightful answer can always just be no. No, not at all. You know, there's so many questions you can ask. What does everything mean? And, what do you refer to? What kind of tests are you talking about? On which levels, There's so much more to that. So anyway, ChatGPT is also something that is, endangering our species at the moment. But you see, there are a lot of requirements to us testers at the moment. And sometimes I ask myself, less seems to be known about software testing than about any other aspect of software development. So this is where you need to put out your mobile now, scan the QR code, and this is actually a live poll I want to ask you to fill out now. So we will see the live results here. And this is a question I like to ask at conferences. So take your pick from you partially agree, fully agree, to can't really say, to disagreement in various stages. So keep on going. We have 15 voices, so far 23. Partial agreement, okay, that's great. Keep on going, there's more people in here. There's more than 50. Keep it going. Okay, wow. This is about 75, so 3/4 of you think you're rather in agreement with this statement. And thank you very much for participating in this poll. This actually matches the results I've seen when asking that at different conferences as well. So at Testing Unite in 2019, similar results. So about 3/4 of people asked tend to agree with this statement. At Sinai BREX, where I ran a keynote, this keynote actually, that I have to chop down now, last year, it was the same. 3/4 of you actually agreed to that. So, where does this statement come from? It's not mine, actually. I took it from one of the classics in software testing. It's actually the first ever book written solely on software testing by Glenford J. Myers in 1979. So this is 44 years old. And it's actually a text taken from the sleeve of the book. So it's surprising, isn't it? So it seems within the last 40 to 50 years, nothing much has changed. And Glanford Myers actually had some other quotes that are quite nice. So he was talking about good test cases that have a high probability of finding bugs, not really showing that the program works correctly. He was also talking about, trying to solve the problem, rushing through the design process so that enough time is left at the end of the time to fix the problems that were there in the first place because we rushed through the design process. So this is super agile, what Glanford J. Myers has been talking about. So, time to introduce myself. My name is Ron Werner. I'm quality engineering lead at Celonis in Munich at the moment. I have 15 years in software quality, 18 years in IT in total. I'm married, I have 3 sons, 1 dog. I'm what I would like to call Pareto vegan. That means 80% is enough. I like my burgers and my steak every now and then. And the weirdest experience I'd like to share with you is probably testing in Japanese. When you don't know what the click of a button does, whether all your data is wiped away, eradicated, or it's actually stored. So let's deep dive a little bit. The question is, do we need testers? And I want to elaborate on that. So testers are good for automation, for machine learning and AI, so this is our competition. And there was another talk that I did talking about AI. So AI is not going to replace our jobs at the moment. That's the good message for now. And then there is other products. For example, this one here, that's a nice Swiss coffee machine. And they actually have a claim on there. This is German, but I'll quickly translate. So they claim this is artificial intelligence. The most often ordered products will get listed on top of the list of available products. Is that artificial intelligence? No, it's not. This is a very simple programming principle called LIFO, last in, first out. So you see, AI is not too soon going to replace us. Testers are still required. Now you can ask the same question as well to developers. Do we still need developers? And when looking at the latest developments, so there's GitHub Copilot, there's AWS Code Whisperer, there's diverse language models that help us, but studies have shown actually that the code produced has a lot of overload, it has a lot of security risks inherent to it, and the quality of code is really inferior. So I would say right now there is not too much of a need to be afraid of that. But there are jokes about, testers versus developers, and jokes reveal a lot about culture because they tell you a tiny bit of truth. There's probably one joke that you know about. It's the one where a QA enters a bar, orders a drink, orders 9 gazillion beers, orders a lizard, orders -1 beers, orders whatever. And then finally, the real customer walks into the bar, asks where the toilet is, and then the whole thing bursts up in flames. So it's funny at first, but as a quality person, I think it's not really funny because it's in a way it's against testers. I mean, the QA engineer actually tries hard to find issues and tries everything, and that person should be the customer advocate. Then actually, it's the first real customer doing something in the bar, and the whole thing just blows up. So I think this is really against testers. Then there's another joke I want to share, which is about a man in a balloon who lost his way. Maybe you've heard about this. So there's a balloonist, and he was meant to meet a friend half an hour ago, and he just lost track. So he lowers altitude, and he sees there's a woman on the ground, so he starts shouting, "Excuse me, ma'am, can you help me? I promised a friend I would meet him an hour ago, but I don't know where I am." The woman below replied, "Oh yes, sir, of course. You're in a hot air balloon, approximately 30 feet above the ground. You're located between 40 and 41 degrees north latitude and 59 and 60 degrees west longitude." "You must be a tester," the balloonist replied. "I am," replies the woman. "How did you know?" "Well," says the balloonist, "everything you told me is technically correct, but I have no idea what to make of the information, and in fact, I'm still lost. Frankly speaking, you've been no help. The woman below responds, you must be a manager. The guy replies, yes, I am, but how did you know? Well, says the woman, you don't know where you are or where you're going. You've risen to the position you're in due to a large quantity of hot air. You have made a promise which you have no idea how to keep, and you expect people beneath you to solve your problems. The fact is, you're in exactly the same position you were before we met, but now somehow it's my fault. So you see, that's another joke, stating the developer or manager side. And in a way, it's kind of the old, one versus another situation. So you've probably seen that. It's the developer who kind of reproduced, there's a critical issue, and this whole thing of, Jira, comment, ping pong, bugs going back and forth, being kicked across the fence. But this is boring. We've seen this for years. So we need something new. And what could that be? How do we arrive at a better sense of togetherness? I think we need quality coaches. So I'm referring to Alberto Savoya's GTAC 2011 keynote here, where he actually dressed up as death himself with a sigh, and it was very provocative because he said, test is dead, testers are not needed. At the end of the day, what he said was, you should rather concentrate on building the right it than building it right. So it's kind of, building the right thing versus building the thing right. And he's totally correct with that. That actually is based on a quote by management guru Peter Drucker, who said, efficiency is concerned with doing things right, effectiveness is doing the right thing. So what we want to have in product development is effectiveness. And so what do quality coaches do? Well, they're inspiring. So they try to answer the question, how can you cultivate quality beyond pure testing? That can be done, for example, through going through the CI pipeline steps, checking if there are any blocks, anything that acts as a bottleneck. They're looking at customer input, for example, or any other obstacles in the flow. What else do? They ask and teach. So they really act as a coach. How can you get others involved in quality? And what they can do here is get a shared understanding of why we want quality, get rid of this sign-off mentality of this, quality cop mentality, and enter quality enablement. Teach good testing practice. That's what us quality people are really good at. And trust others in the team to do an equally or even better testing job than what you're doing. And finally, they're challenging. So they're asking provocative questions. How can you distribute quality efforts? So it's not just you on your own actually doing the testing job and investigating into risks and quality. So you can identify quality tasks that need to be done that could be shared, where ownership could be shared. You can discuss the quality tasks with your teams. And the thing is, this is all about what's called quality engineering. And there's a nice statement here that says, doing engineering well requires a continuous and deliberate effort to build and evolve healthy quality habits. Now what I'm showing here is the DevOps Infinity Loop by Janet Gregory. So you're probably familiar with that. And there's 3 main aspects to quality engineering, which I was talking about in my yesterday's full day tutorial on quality engineering. So one is the shift left character, having better conversations when actually starting the whole process. The other thing is shifting right. Once you've deployed, what can you learn in terms of observability, monitoring, and actually, also looking while you release, what can you learn from the system and from customers using the system. And then finally, the third most important aspect is this whole quality aspect. Now, taking all of this together and talking about habits, what we want to do is to install good quality habits. What is a habit? Let's see what Cambridge Dictionary says. It says, it's something that you do often and regularly, sometimes without knowing that you're doing it. So that means there are 2 aspects to that. One is, this is something subconscious. So you start doing that, you start learning about that, and you do it subconsciously. Furthermore, it becomes a routine to you. So I want to ask you, how long do you think does it take to actually successfully adopt a new habit? There's 4 options. So see a show of hands, who thinks it's 14 days? Anyone? A few people? Okay. Who thinks it's 21 days? Quite a few people. Who thinks it's 66 days? Less than before. And who thinks it's 8 months? A few. Okay. So some of you are right, and I want to show you the right answer. It's actually anything between 66 days and 8 months. So latest studies from University College London have actually showed that it takes a long time, so between 66 days and 8 months to adopt a habit. So it's not that easy. Now, let's talk about behaviors. What are behaviors? Behaviors are the way that someone or something behaves in a particular situation, says Cambridge Dictionary. We see, okay, this is something conscious. It's something that you do in a particular situation, so it's a singular event. How can we actually create those habits and then have them become behaviors? So what the Handbook of Behavior Change actually tells us is that habit formation has the potential to create sustained behavior change. So habits basically lead to behaviors in a sustainable way. Now, the big topic is you have a culture in your company, and how do you change that quality culture? So culture is defined as attitudes, behavior, see, you have behaviors again here, opinions, etc., of a particular group of people within society or within a company. And behaviors, changing that, going from habits to behaviors to changing the culture, this is the way to actually move forward. So we've seen that culture is actually part of the lifestyle at your company. It's part of the customs and beliefs. And all of this belongs together. So, amalgamating all of that together, there's this procession basically of events. First, you need to have habits that then turn into behaviors and that then finally shape the culture. And what you want to have is good quality habits because they lead to good quality behavior and they form a great quality culture within the company, as opposed to bad habits that create a bad behavior and lead to a toxic culture. Now, I want to share the last company that I worked at. Here actually we managed to install this kind of attitude of quality engineering and really change the culture. So there were 3 main aspects that helped us here succeed. One was the team setup. The other one was the environment. We had a large aspect which was psychological safety. So where it was safe for everyone to speak up, to express their opinion without being rebutted. And it was the culture actually that we built up. So how did we do that? So at Kazoo, quality engineers, they were neither expected to test the output of software engineers nor act as release gatekeepers, no policing. Furthermore, instead, they should be involved in discovery activities to surface information, unknowns and risks as early as possible. They'll also be involved in 3 Amigo-style conversations from inception through to operating software in production, and will be found pairing with designers and software engineers as needed. They'll also drive a culture of testability and observability. Now, finally, they use their subject matter expertise to coach software engineers on appropriate test scenarios and test levels, while the engineers, the developers, they're expected to write automation around the code, as well as writing the code itself. Could be that they're involved in test automation as well, but in our case, it was mainly the developers taking care of that. And the QEs actually working as quality coaches. Now, I want to quickly go into how that worked. How did we create good habits? And how did we break bad habits? So taking an inspiration from James Clear's Atomic Habits book, there's 4 parts to it. So I have some examples. So creating a good habit is like, when you want to start running. How to break a bad habit would be how to stop smoking. But I brought some examples actually from the company where we used this methodology, for example, when we introduced test-driven development. We made it easy. How? Well, we wanted people to pair on test-driven development and have hop on and off sessions using tools. So we used Pesto, and this was basically a software tool allowing developers to see who's already pairing when, to see who's open for a Pesto pairing session, and anyone else could actually jump on that session and join. So it was making it easy. We made it attractive as well. There was a 13-week tech academy for all newbies working in product and engineering, actually talking about how good code is created, about test-driven development. And you got pair and mob practice, so as quality engineers as well as developers, juniors and seniors alike. We made it obvious by making it a topic in the daily, talking about the pairing sessions, and then have IDE integration as well to make it easy to measure code coverage, for example, and to enable pairing. Make it satisfying. Showcase what you've done. Demo your tests, demo your test coverage, and what you've done as pairs using TDD. So displaying the test efforts. The other example how to break bad habits, the bad habit would be releasing features without tests. I mean, nobody wants to do that, right? So how can you do that? You have to make it difficult. So just include that in your CI. So have a CI gate with minimum code coverage. And that's it. The build breaks or fails if you don't meet the coverage. You can make it unattractive as well. So the author then has to remove the code and rewrite it. There's peer pressure as well. You can make it invisible through integrating a minimum code coverage into the IDE settings already. So you don't have to wait until your code is actually getting merged in a merge request or a pull request. And you can make it unsatisfying. So in the code review, there's peer pressure. There's other people as well looking at that. So these are some examples. And obviously, this was helped by C-level support. So it's like not only a bottoms-up approach, but a top-down approach at the same time as well. And how to make these good habits behaviors is you can look into making allies, getting support from other people on your team, collect supporting data. That always helps in actually stating your case. And there's a lot that we talked about in yesterday's quality engineering workshop. So if you missed it, bad luck, but you can come to me and talk with me after this talk, actually. So we learned that habits become behaviors that then change the culture and shape the culture. And, referencing to Test is Dead, to the Google Test Automation Conference 12 years ago, actually in the US, Alberto Savoya's keynote here. He was also referencing to the culture. So basically taking a look at Peter Drucker again, he had a nice quote that says, "Culture eats strategy for breakfast." This is actually wrong. He never said that. What he actually said was, culture, no matter how defined, is singularly persistent. What does that mean? That means that culture is basically, it's persisting and it's really hard to change, but it's not impossible. And I want to move on by showing you an extract, a video of this GTAG conference. There is something that struck me. Just keep in mind when watching the video now, this is 2011, so a long time ago. And we'll see an extract from this conference. This is towards the end of
God is dead. Some people took it, oh my God, where are we going to get our morality? What's going to happen? But on the other hand, think about it. This opens the road for creating our own way of thinking, our own morality, and come up with something entirely new, which should be an extremely exciting thing. So, as I said, the leaders are moving out, the old guard is moving out, the old ways of developing are gone. There is a huge opportunity for people here that have the energy, the enthusiasm, the passion to come up with something extremely new. And, if you're lucky, you could be the next James Whittaker. No, bad example. So, hopefully, is there anybody here that would love for that to happen? There have to be some new ideas and new ways of approaching testing. Any suggestions from this audience? Yes?
And now, watch this gentleman.
Oh, he's
this
waiting for
gentleman
the
makes
mic.
a comment. Listen
And while the
closely.
Max gets there, this is the opening keynote. Well, first of all, because I would agree to do nothing
Takes
but
a
the
minute
opening
until he
keynote,
gets the
but
mic.
also because this is the theme of the conference, right? If test is dead, there's cloud on the horizons. What are we going to do about it? When you sit at those tables, that's what you should be thinking about.
So exactly. Sometimes you think, so testing is dead. Probably you guys need to look for another job. And my comment on this is we really need to reinvent ourselves. Where I work, I hate the word testers because I think we're really quality people, and quality should be implemented all across the development life cycle. So we just need to reinvent ourselves and stop calling ourselves as testers. We're just like process monitors. We're quality people. We really need to put quality in every step of the development life cycle. So by the time the code gets to us, which is the QA phase, like James just said, it doesn't need testing, or we hope it doesn't. But again, for everyone, it's not testing what we do, it's quality assurance, and we really need to make sure, monitor it, and have it implemented all across. That's just my comment. Agree? Disagree?
Well, I agree, so I'll agree, and then we have two more questions. In fact, let's make up a term right.
Okay, so maybe you've seen what this gentleman said. Remind you again, this was 2011. And actually, one of the quotes here, that hit me like the slap at the Oscar ceremony. Because what this unknown gentleman actually said was, we're quality people. We really need to put quality in every step of the development life cycle. And let's put this in the actual event of the history. So let's start in 2001. There was the Agile Manifesto, individuals and interactions over processes and tools. So created by Kent Beck and 16 more software developers. Then later on in 2009, we had the Agile Testing Quadrants. So that was Lisa and Janet who actually came up with this excellent book on Agile testing. Then, over a longer period of time, nothing happened. And we had the idea by Dan Ashby of continuous testing. That was exactly this idea mentioned here. It's about the DevOps infinity loop and that you could test in every part of the software development lifecycle. So Dan Ashby came up with that. This was enhanced by Janet Gregory, and she called it holistic testing in 2021. And that's really the missing bit here. In 2011, put quality into every step of the software development life cycle. Nobody else had talked about this before. It was this unknown gentleman, who's my personal unsung hero, who came up with this idea at the time when nobody else was talking about that. So this is what I want to tell you about, something that I realized, I found. And I really like to inspire you, actually. So now it's 2023. And you could be the one adopting quality engineering in your organization, changing the way quality habits are formed, how they're actually executed, change behaviors, and install a great quality culture. So, I hope this was an inspiring talk to you. If you want to take pictures, then this is the best wrap-up slide. Really covers the essence of what I've shown and talked about today. And with that, I would like to say thank you very much for your attention, and I think we're open for questions.
So, obviously panic ensues. We're looking for microphones desperately. It's coming. Over here. You'll be next.
Hello. I wanted to ask you, why do you think there is such resistance towards building quality in every stage of the software development life cycle? Why is there such resistance that even if we are talking for 20 years about it, it's still very hard?
Even more. Okay, great question. And to be honest, I don't know why it takes so long to shift the mindsets of people. Maybe it's ourselves, maybe it's us, maybe us quality people, we're not bold enough to stand there and fight for our right to have quality everywhere, not just in the test column, to get rid of these silos and these confinements. That could be one thing. It could, on the other hand, also be fear from the developer side. When I the current team or one of the teams I'm working with, for example, just asking the developers to run the weekly regression test. It's the click of a button, right? And the QE on the team was actually going on holiday and asked the team to do that for him. And they were like, oh, no, we won't do that. It's not our job. And I'm like, okay, right. So it's the mindset of people. So it's a very good question. I don't have an answer for you, but I think all of us here can really contribute to make that happen. Hopefully sooner than over the next 43 years. Yeah. Try turning it off and on again.
Okay. Thank you for the presentation. It's very, very good. I have two questions. Because first one is, do you think we are rediscovering this again, the quality engineering part? Because when I was teaching principalities of project management and project quality associated with that, we were talking about that. We were talking about quality assurance, about a whole element of project, from the documentation part to the all the models steps, yeah. And now the change that happens is the change that happens, and we are rediscovering this again, is after the culture of the quality is going down and moving to the shifting right more and more on customers parts testing.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure if I understood the question correctly, but you're saying that you think that this kind of wave of quality engineering, it was already there and now it's coming back? Is that?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that, okay. Then I'd like to answer something like, well, I think there's a good possibility because like in the 50s, 60s, when computer science actually arose, there were no testers around, right? So the software engineers, they had to make that sure that their code runs, Just think about the Apollo project, when there were engineers actually working on creating the software that would ship people to the moon, land there, and go back. There were no testers involved. This was all software engineers. And I think this is maybe a lost art. So then testers came in, developers became too reluctant on this safety net of having someone testing the stuff for them. And now we're hopefully tilting back, so.
Yeah, Apollo is a great example because they have quality engineers. There were verification of the part of if the other developers were doing their quality correctly. Yeah.
Oh, they have?
Yeah, they have.
Okay. Then this was, I was wrong.
And not only on software part, but also on engineering. But this is quality engineer is let's say, something that is not only part of the software development, because all engineering need the culture of the quality.
Okay. So quality engineers basically still taking care of quality, but more from a software development
like you have on this
aspect.
presentation. Culture, assure the culture in the company, and everybody is going forward correctly.
Okay. Without being called testers.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Thank you for your questions.
I have a small question. It was just very fast, and I wanted to make a further. But before you mentioned the book, The Art of Software Testing, and after there was the slide when you were told that it's a guru, and the book. Would you please show this book or name it? Which one you give?
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's just return to that slide. You mean this one? This was the first quote. This was Management Tasks, Responsibilities, Practices. This is the one. This one, don't change corporate culture, use it? Somewhere, okay. Maybe come see me after the talk and we'll figure it out. Okay, all right. Okay.
Hi Ron, Soumya here.
Hello. Hi
Yeah,
there.
so there was a slide where you mentioned about the gap in 2011. And
Yeah.
so I can relate myself to that time because
Okay.
that was a time, 2009, when I joined one of the ERP companies called SAP. And I come from that school of thought of quality engineers. So if you say that was missing in 2011, I have a very contrasting view that it wasn't, because I see myself there living that. But my question here is, after working in different geographies and different teams, it's my personal take that some geographies are digitally advanced in their processes and the way they bake things within an organization vis-a-vis other geographies who are just catching up. And the ones who are catching up lacks education, not in terms of college education, but mostly about knowing stuff or like how to do, and there's a lot of confusion. This is my take. Do you have any comments for this?
I'm really curious now what kind of industry you were working in. So at that time.
I was working for SAP.
Okay.
So we were building enterprise resource softwares.
Okay.
It's pretty huge applications.
Okay.
Pretty complex as well.
Okay. Cool. That's really great to know. So I think it's probably one of the lesser known facts that, you know, there are companies that have been applying this kind of, you know, DevOps loop, testing everywhere and embracing the, you know, quality, exactly, the quality mindset. So nice to hear that. So yeah, let's have a talk afterwards. I'd be interested to hear more. Thank you.
So yeah, let's have the last question, and we can wrap it up.
Hi there, it's me, Mary.
Hello.
I'm the lucky one to have the last question. I'm sorry for not being yesterday at your speech. That's why I wanted to ask you to elaborate more on shifting to the right and shifting to the left, as from my mindset it tells me only about politics. That's why, like, what's the shifting to the left or to right in testing?
Okay, so shifting left involves more in the creative part when you actually start building things. So that's the, you know, moving quality towards the inception. You have the first idea of a design, and then you should start quality and bake it in, basically. So shifting right is more the part when, okay, you're ready. So you've built something, you're starting to deploy it on systems, and then you're monitoring, you're, you know, putting in observability, you're seeing about feedback from the customers and so on. So that's the shifting right part. But
So these are extremes, right?
yes, exactly. But yeah, please come see me after the talk and we can discuss more.
Yeah, maybe to wrap things up, then just this week in Amsterdam, I saw a sign in the hotel where it said that if nothing goes right, go left. So,
Nice.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you very much. Oh, thanks a lot.